Okay, we're back over here in Rav Tatz's Sefer on Bechira, on free will. And he says really more, I guess we'll call it more eye-opening things today, like we spoke about last time. And he says like this: Lihishar bilti mefutach, to remain an undeveloped individual in life. Lahamshich b'mili ritzainos yalduseim, to continue just to go around in your childish desires that you had from the time that you were a kid. Lo nidreshes kol bechira, it doesn't take much work. To remain who you are, with all the positives and the negatives and everything in between, with your childish whims and the like, you don't have to work so hard to do that. That will just happen by itself. For the Yetzer Hara, for the evil inclination to pull a person and keep drawing him in the wrong direction, you don't have to put in any effort at all to accomplish that. It will happen on its own, without utilizing any ounce of your free will. Person is born and they have some bad character traits about them. Everybody has. That's the way that Hashem made us. Everybody has bad traits. The goal is to overcome them, to work on them, to become a better person. That's why God gave them to us. Now, if you don't do anything, so not only are they never going to get better, most likely they're going to get worse. Person has a tendency for laziness, he'll become more lazy. He has a tendency for hardiness, he'll become more hardy. He's an angry person, he'll become angrier. That's the way that it's going to work. Says Rav Tatz, there's no Bechira, there's no free will in that. You have a Yetzer Hara, you have evil inclination, you have negative traits about you, negative things about you. Just let it go on automatic pilot. It'll just continue to spin out of control. Amanas liyos toiv nidreshes Bechira. But in order to become a better person, to become a good person, now you require Bechira, we require to use our free will. To remain sour, you remain sour. That's how it works. You don't have to try so hard. To become better, to become good, to elevate yourself, to become different than you are right now, that will require a commitment to using your Bechira, your free will, for the right things. It is possible for a person to choose good, or either you can choose good, or you can remain passive, and you just let the Yetzer Hara, just that evil inclination, just continue to draw you along in the direction it is. It's two choices. Either I actively choose to do good and become better, or I just sit back and I let things slide by the way that they are. There's no way that a person is going to improve in such a case. So the decision that a person has to make is, am I going to use my Bechira, my ability to have free will, or am I just going to close off my eyes from seeing it, and I'm going to pretend that the opportunity doesn't exist. The tafkida amiti, the true purpose of shel adam, the true purpose of a person in this world is hu liyos boicher, is to be a person who chooses and makes decisions. Le'abias haratzon b'yetziras ishis, to express the true desire, the true will in the creation of man. Hameshakefes elokus, where, as we mentioned last time, we're trying to touch the divine in that which we do when we exercise our free will. Like we said last time, just as Hashem is a Borei, He is a creator. He created Yesh Ma'ayin, something out of nothing. There was no physical world. He made the world come into existence. So too, inside of me, there's all these parts of me that have never seen the light of day. When I use my Bechira, when I use my free will in the right way, I'm creating inside of myself an aspect that never existed before. That's godliness. So we have a choice. Would I rather just let things go as they are, You could choose to do that if you want to, or you could become godly. If you decide to utilize your free will and make decisions, as we're going to see, it's not so easy to do that. But therein lies our tafkid, our task in this world. So then you become the person who is mashkefes elokus. You're getting into the world of divineness. Hatafkid litzer adam chadash. The goal of a person is to shape and form a new person through the natural state of being that HaKadosh Baruch Hu put us in. So naturally we are a certain way. Can't avoid that. That is who a person is. I've got my traits, I've got my character, I've got my personality, I've got the good, the bad, and all the ugly that's in between. Says the Rav Tats, you know what your goal is? Your goal is to take the bull by the horns and to make yourself into an Adam Chadash. You become a new person, a new entity, as a result of choosing to overcome the complacency of just the regular way that your life has worked for since you can remember. Which is your hergel, is the habituated acts that a person does, and his character, the traits and the like that he has inside of him, that just continue to go on without thinking or realizing what he's doing.
Then why are some people created better than others?
Everybody has a different purpose in this world. Everybody has a different purpose of what they have to accomplish in this world. And so sometimes the person who is created with the most strikes against them is the person who's actually supposed to accomplish the most. Right, look in the Chumash. You have a child by the name of Esav, and you have a child by the name of Yaakov. They're brothers. They were twins, but they were certainly not identical at all in their nature. They were polar opposites. Yaakov was born as a young man who was with a predisposition towards holiness, towards Torah, towards sitting in the shul, in the Beis Midrash, in the yeshiva, and learning Torah all day long and being a man of truth. Esau was born red. He was born hairy. He was born with a predisposition towards idol worship and murder and killing people. So the commentators ask, is that fair? God made Esau with everything, all the cards were stacked against him. And then he goes on to become a wicked person. What do you expect from such a person? And the answer is that Hashem actually expected much more from Esav. Had Esav realized what kind of a full deck he was playing with, and he would have realized that if in fact I will use my Bechira, my free will, to overcome the negative inertia that is naturally inside of me, I will not just become a great person, but I would even become greater than my brother Yaakov over here, who is the holiest man in the world. Because the harder that a person has to work to overcome the negative, the greater they actually end up reaching in their striving for godliness. That's why the verse says that Yitzchak loved Esav. How could you love Esav? The kid is a rush. He's a wild man. He's going around killing. He's making a bad name for you and your whole family. Everybody crosses the street when they see him coming because they're afraid of him. How could you love him? Because Yitzchak saw that if my son will realize what he has inside of him, and he'll just tap into the real potential of holiness and godliness inside, he'll supersede Yaakov Avinu. He'll become the greatest man of the generation. He loved the potential that was there.
Well, still, God makes some people have an easier life than others.
That's true. Everybody's soul has a different, what we call in the more Kabbalistic world, Tikkunim. Everybody's soul has different corrections that it has to go about in this world. And based upon how many mistakes we made in a previous life, how much baggage we're carrying with us into this life, so that's going to be the extent of the tikkunim, of the corrections that our souls have to make.
It's not fair, but
It's actually, Rav Hersh writes that the more challenges that a person sees in their life, and let's say in this case over here, the more challenging they see their personal nature is, the bigger compliment they should take it from Hashem. That means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu looks inside of their soul and he sees that they are infused with so much potential, they could accomplish things that other people cannot accomplish.
There was a movie years ago called Sliding Doors, and it depicted an individual who had 3 different choices in life, and it showed what happened when he took each one of those choices. Some were good, some weren't good, but it's, to me, it's always, there's a fork in the road, and one goes this way, one goes that way. Which one do you take? And
Right.
how do you end up?
So that's right. So
Not necessarily.
we're gonna see. We're gonna see. Now I'll just end off. He quotes over here the words of the Chazon Ish. And the Chazon Ish was known to be a person that was in total control over his himself and his being. They said that when you walked into his private quarters, you could literally feel that the Shekhinah, the divine presence, was hovering in that room powerfully, and you felt as if perhaps you were in the presence of maybe Avram Avinu, of Abraham. That's the level of holiness that he was on. So the Chazon Ish writes, Hamida harahi b'sharasha haznacha esachayim hadivim al malachim hativi. So the Chazon Ish said that the root of all bad character of a person is when they abandon life and leave it to its natural choice. If you want to know the root of all of the dirtiness or the grime or the badness of your character that's going to be inside of you, so then just leave life to run the way that it's going to run, and don't get involved and don't do anything. If you leave things the way that they are, so they are never going to get better, right? If you hear your car clicking, so either you can take it into the mechanic and have him take a look at it, or you can just say, well, maybe it'll go away. And when someone gets in your car 6 months later and the car is shaking, and they ask something wrong with your car, I don't know, it started off clicking, I thought it was going to get better, so take it to the mechanic. I don't have time, I'm too busy. Says the Chazon Ish, every bad character trait that we have, every bad part of ourselves which needs to be corrected, it's clicking. If you leave it, it's just going to get louder and louder, and it's going to start shaking. So the Chazon Ish writes, and the Chazon Ish says that if you leave things to run their course, so then you could actually achieve perfection in the world of bad character traits. He says, mitsuyan, you could become the most outstanding person of anger in the world because you just never took care of your anger. Noka mitsuyan, you could be a very vengeant person, the best in town. Everybody knows, stay out of this guy's way, because if you get in his way, he's going to take it out against you, and he's going to hold a grudge against you for the rest of his life. Why? Because you have a bad midah, you never took care of it. Or gaiva or gaya mitsuyan, someone who is a hardy person. A person that's a hardy person, and he doesn't work on becoming humble, he's going to become the most outstanding man of hardiness and conceitedness in the world. Says the Chazon Ish, let things run their course, it'll just be a disaster. Only when a person seizes the opportunity and begins to work on changing themselves and becoming a better person, only then are they going to tap into this power of Bechira, free will, and become the best person they can become. Okay, we'll hold it over here today.